So are you feeling like you're going crazy and losing your mind? Hey, I know how you feel. Are friends and family, maybe coworkers, calling you crazy? Well, good. It's a compliment to be called crazy by a brainwashed and sick culture. However, nevertheless, those of you who might be going through an awakening, enlightenment, whatever the hell you want to call it, the fact that you are waking up to the realization that this world is not what it seems, you might be wondering if you really are going crazy. So, are you? We're going to answer that question right now. We're going to see, are you going crazy? And what you can do about it. Hey guys, my name is Morgue, and if you are new to this channel, join our War of the Mind and watch us wake up the world by subscribing right now. Also, my content is controversial, so make sure you hit the bell so that you know when something new comes out. So first, let's take a look at why you feel crazy. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "And once you are awake, you shall remain awake eternally." What this means is that once you see, you cannot unsee. Once a door has been opened, it cannot be shut. There's no going back. The reason why you feel like you might be going crazy is because you had a certain model of the world and a narrative about the world and a model of yourself. And all of that is now crumbling and falling away. You might even find yourself just staring at yourself in the mirror, trying to figure out what you are. You might stare at objects, just trying to figure out, what the hell is this? What is this place? What am I? And hey, yeah, it can be pretty scary for a minute. Meanwhile, people are wandering around, watching Netflix, going shopping like nothing's the matter, and you're over there being like, hey, what am I? What is life? What are cups? So hey, calm down, don't worry, everything is going to be fine. You see, what's happening is that you had a certain model of reality, and that model of reality is now collapsing. You've realized that it was false, and now this operating system that you were running on is being uninstalled. You see, previously you were sort of on autopilot. You were given a certain model about the world and what life is by your parents and society and culture, and you sort of followed this on autopilot. But then something happened. Something triggered you to start questioning that model. There was a flaw or an error in your old way of thinking that you saw, and so everything is now starting to crumble and fall away. And the reason why that it feels like you are going crazy is because your model of reality is disintegrating. And you don't yet have a new model to implement. We're going to talk about how to build a new model in a moment, but right now it's important to understand what is going on. You see, your ego builds a model of reality and you as a person. Now, it's very important to understand that the ego is not your enemy. The ego is an important tool. So the goal is never to destroy the ego. But it's not to identify with the ego either. The ego is a very important tool that constructs your model of reality. It's not who you are, but it's important for building a model. And when you start questioning existence, that model starts to crumble and fall away. Everything that you thought was true about yourself and existence begins to fall. The first part of an awakening process is a destructive process as everything begins to disintegrate. And this can feel kind of scary. It can feel like, you're sort of falling and you don't have anything to grab onto. And people around you aren't going to be any help. They're just going to call you crazy because they're stuck on their model of reality, following out their preset factory conditioned patterns set for them by culture. Imagine that reality were a dream and suddenly you became lucid in that dream and you tried to tell the other dream characters that, hey, it's a dream, you guys, and they just sort of stare at you blankly like you're insane. Now, the same thing is sort of going on here. So it's not very much help to look to society or culture. They are going to have no idea what you're talking about because you are going to a new level while they're back on level 1. Let's use a computer metaphor to really understand what's going on here. Your model of existence, the narrative, the story that you tell yourself about you and the world, it's like an operating system. So your ego runs on an operating system, a model of reality. But that operating system, when you're going through an awakening or whatever you want to call it, that operating system gets uninstalled. You are removing that model of reality. This can be very frightening at first, but don't worry, in a second we're going to talk about how to rebuild or install a new operating system. But in the meantime, your operating system has become uninstalled, and that is why it can feel like you're going crazy. You don't really have a way to define what existence is anymore. Previously, you could define what existence is because you had a model of reality, but that definition, that model was false. So now that those falsehoods are taken away, you don't have anything. That's why it can feel like you're sort of losing your grip on reality. So remember, the ego is your friend. It's not your enemy, but it's not who you are. Getting rid of the ego would be like saying, let's just get rid of the mouse. Well, that wouldn't be very good, would it? Your ego is part of your selector function. You wouldn't be able to select anything according to conscious, self-aware decisions anymore if you were to throw away your mouse or throw away your ego. So it's important, when you're going through this, don't let friends, family, society get you down if they act like you're crazy. Because you know what? They're just on a different level. They're on level 1 and you are leveling up. They might think they know about reality, but they're operating under an old, outdated, flawed operating system, and you're in the process of a software update. Of course, you might end up losing friends and family over this. That's very possible. Let me know in the comments below. Tell me if you've had friction with friends or family because of different ways of thinking about reality. Drop a comment, tell me. But it's important not to let this get you down. Now let's talk about how to build a new model of reality, how to install a new operating system. You can't stay in the process of destruction. You must now move on to the process of creation. Now, here's the thing though, make sure you take your time. You might stay in the uninstalling process or the destructive process for a while. That's okay. There's no rush. There is plenty of time, and make sure that you give yourself enough space, enough time to breathe, and don't become overwhelmed by all this new information that's going to be coming your way. Take your time. But when you are ready, it's time to move on to the creation phase, or the phase where you are installing and building a new operating system, a new model of the self, and a new model of reality. This is so important because so many people get this wrong. They will uninstall an old operating system just to install a new flawed operating system. And this is where you can have a false model of reality and thus start to really lose your grip on reality. To understand this better, we're going to look at 4 different functions, okay? Feelings, senses, intuition, and reason. Now, people who have an operating system, a model of reality that operates on feelings, tend to subscribe to a literalist religion. They're led by feelings or prayer or feeling the Holy Spirit, things like this. Their model of reality is dictated by feelings. Those who run their model of reality on the senses tend to be atheistic materialists. They are locked into their senses, and thus they think that all of reality is material and nothing else. They think that all of existence is only material and that's it, because that is all that they can sense. Now, those that have an operating system that runs on intuition tend to subscribe to things like New Ageism, mysticism, Eastern religions, and things like this. And here is an incredibly important point, so really listen up here. Most people who are going through this process of awakening, when they are installing a new operating system, a new model of reality, so to speak, end up modeling it on intuition. And that might seem right at first, because maybe it was intuition that started the whole process to begin with. Maybe. But let me tell you right now that this is very dangerous. Intuition is incredibly important, but it's so powerful that it must be tempered through reason. Because intuition, it's sort of like a dream. When you're dreaming, you can gain amazing insights in reality and how your mind works. But guess what? Mixed in with all that is a lot of insanity as well. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in your dream world that you don't want to take as being true. Well, the same thing happens with people who model their reality on only intuition. They might get some things right, but they start going off the rails because intuition is wild. It's like an ocean, it's like a dream, and you have to be able to structure it according to reason. If you don't, this is why you get people who start to believe in things like flat earth or a hollow earth, or that we're all being mind controlled by reptilian aliens from the 84th dimension. You see, this is where we must be very, very careful. We need to build a new model of reality that incorporates intuition, but runs on reason. So reason and logic is what will structure you. You're not going to hear this anywhere else, and this is so important. Because when you are going through an awakening process and you are building a new model of reality, it must be structured with reason. If you don't, things are going to get crazy. This is what allows you to navigate a new consciousness while maintaining your grip on sanity. Again, if not, you will have the danger of going off the rails and starting to believe in wild conspiracy theories and things that just have no basis in reality at all. So don't worry, you're not going crazy, but be careful, because those spiritual gurus and mystics who start telling you that the moon is hollow and the earth is flat and watch out for the ascension of the 59th dimension or whatever, that's the stuff that's going to start to make you lose it. This is why, as we step into a new consciousness with so many beautiful insights into existence, that we remain structured by logic and reason. When human beings were first becoming conscious, they ignored logic and reason and instead started religions, and this got us into a lot of trouble. So now, as we enter into a new form of consciousness, we must not make the same mistake twice. We must be guided by logic and reason. Now, intuition is incredibly important, but logic and reason will help us filter our intuitive contents to know what's true and what isn't. So remember, the first phase is a destructive phase. It's an uninstalling of an old operating system, an old model of reality. And this is why it can feel like you're going crazy. It can feel scary. The next phase is to build a new model of reality where you're thinking for yourself using logic and reason to filter and construct the new data that you have been given, the new insights that you are coming to. And this part is so important because you want to make sure that you maintain your grip on reality as you come to new insights and new intuitions about existence. And during this whole process, remember, don't let family, friends, co-workers, whatever, don't let them get you down. Once again, it is a compliment to be told that you're crazy by a crazy world. This world is a madhouse and an asylum. You don't need to be going through this alone. And as we go through higher and higher levels of consciousness, the great philosopher Hegel understood that the highest level of consciousness required a community. A high level of consciousness is actually a consciousness that is based in a community. It's only a conscious community that can take us to the highest levels of awareness, and we are building that conscious community right now. This is history in the making as we step forward and build a new awareness, a new society of awakened individuals on Earth. I know this world can make you feel isolated and depressed. Trust me, I know all too well. So that's why we need a new world, a new conscious community. Hey, if you're sick of the old world and are ready for the new world, hit that like button right now. Smash it. Let's make these ideas go viral. Share this everywhere. Let's start spreading this message. We are a new revolution of consciousness. Now, I know you have a lot of questions, and one of the biggest ones is probably, can spirituality and reason really be unified? And to see the answer to this question, watch this video right here called The New Spirituality. Watch this video as well. Make sure you subscribe, and if you enjoy my work, support on Patreon so I can bring you even higher quality content. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Ad Astra, to the stars.